Have you ever wondered if the fate of an entire empire could change in just a matter of minutes? In the spring of 1942, following their victory at Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Empire continued expanding its influence across the Pacific and deep into Southeast Asia. But what exactly were they after? Why didn't they stop when they were at the peak of their power? The answer is surprisingly simple. They feared losing the war to the United States. Isoroku Yamamoto, Admiral of Japan's Navy, worried that America's wartime industry would soon outpace anything the Axis could match. So, the United States had to be crushed completely before its power grew beyond their control. And to do that, the Japanese needed a surprise attack to wipe out what remained of the US Pacific Fleet. The target was chosen, Midway. But doesn't that seem strange? Why Midway? Was it truly a key strategic point, or a trap laid in silence, ready to bury an empire, mirroring the success of Pearl Harbor? Admiral Yamamoto crafted a plan that would turn Midway into the graveyard of the US Pacific Fleet. However, on the day before Midway invasion, a small force was sent to the Aleutian Islands, off the coast of Alaska, in hopes of drawing American attention and splitting their defenses at Midway. The main assault was to follow in 3 massive waves: an airstrike to wipe out Midway's airfields. Reinforcements would arrive to crush any remaining American fleet, and a full-scale amphibious landing to seize the island. Behind the scenes, a fleet of submarines was secretly sent deep into the waters between Midway and Hawaii, ready to assist if needed. If you were Yamamoto, would you believe this plan could actually fail? With nearly 86% of aircraft on Oahu destroyed and almost 45% of the Pacific Fleet's major warships at Pearl Harbor wiped out, Yamamoto believed America couldn't possibly recover in time, but he was wrong. The US had intercepted key communications about the Midway operation. The messages, sent from Japan's Naval General Staff, were encrypted using the JN-5 code, a cipher that, crucially, hadn't been changed frequently. So, the intentions, timing, movement, and even the size of the attacking force were revealed. By May 26, 1942, 8 Japanese task forces began leaving port. Their arsenal included 4 heavy aircraft carriers to light aircraft carriers, 358 aircraft, 5 battleships, 10 heavy cruisers, 3 to 4 light cruisers, 40 to 45 destroyers, 15 to 20 support vessels, including oilers, transports, and minesweepers, 18 to 24 submarines, and 5,000 troops. With this massive force assembled by the Japanese Empire, what did the Americans have? 3 task forces, TF-8, TF-16, and TF-17. Their combined strength: 3 heavy aircraft carriers, 387 aircraft, to seaplane tenders, 8 heavy cruisers, 20 destroyers, 16 submarines, and 3,500 troops. On May 31, 1942, the Japanese submarine fleet successfully slipped into position between Midway and Hawaii, ready to ambush. On June 3rd, in the northern front, the Northern Force and 2nd Carrier Striking Force launched their attack on Aleutian Islands, just as planned, but the assault caused little real damage. Meanwhile, in the southern front, American patrol aircraft, PBY Catalinus, launched from Midway, spotted the Midway invasion force under Admiral Kondo, closing in just 470 kilometers from the islands. After that, at around 12:30 p.m., 9 B-17 bombers were dispatched to strike the enemy fleet, but the bombs missed their marks and caused no serious damage. On June 4th, the fighting continued on both the northern and southern fronts. In the north, Japan launched the second air raid, destroyed fuel depots, eliminated army barracks, and 90 American troops were either killed or wounded. Japan lost 8 aircraft in the attack. Meanwhile, in the south, around 1 a.m., a group of 4 PBY, armed with torpedoes, launched another strike against the Japanese invasion force. One vital oil tanker was heavily damaged. Just a support ship, nothing decisive. But it was the first sign. The Battle of Midway would not go according to Yamamoto's script. 4:30 a.m., the first assault was launched. 108 aircraft took off from all four Japanese carriers, Koga, Soryu, here to strike Midway. Just like at Pearl Harbor, the bombs cleared, crushed the American base before they could react, and they did cause damage. Airstrips, radar stations, and anti-aircraft batteries were hit. But this time, Midway wasn't defenseless. 27 fighter jets, along with a large number of one-aircraft guns, were already in position and responded with fierce resistance. Many Japanese aircraft were shot down. Their attack formation was exposed. Things were starting to spiral off course. 7:15 a.m. Reconnaissance plane number 4, launched from the Japanese cruiser Tone, reported, sighted a naval force to the northeast, including 10 battleships, but no confirmation of any aircraft carriers. Admiral Yamamoto, who had played a key role in the victory at Pearl Harbor, now faced a critical decision. Should he launch a second strike on Midway, or rearm the planes with torpedoes to strike the American fleets? And he chose to continue preparations for the second attack on Midway, using conventional bombs. At around 7:40 to 7:45 a.m., that reconnaissance plane sent another urgent message, at least one aircraft carrier in enemy force. But by then, it was too late to reserve the decision. Nearly all the aircraft had already been rearmed, and now they were caught in the middle of the changeover process. And do you know what the most dangerous thing on an aircraft carrier is? It's not enemy missiles. It's the unsealed bomb storage. An aircraft fully fueled, but not yet airborne. At 9 a.m., 3 torpedo squadrons from the carriers USS Hornet, Enterprise, Yorktown approached and launched attacks on the Imperial Japanese carrier ship. But out of 41 planes, 35 were shot down. It was a devastating loss. Yet these attacks forced the Japanese fighters to fly low to intercept, leaving the skies above dangerously exposed. The final 300 seconds of the fleet that once terrorized all of Asia had begun counting down. At 10:22 a.m., to dive bomber squadrons VB-6, VB-3 from USS Enterprise and USS Yorktown drove from 10,000 feet. There was nothing in their way. There were no Japanese fighters in the sky to intercept. The first to be hit was the Koga. 4 500-pound armor-piercing bombs from VB-6 slammed straight into the flight deck, the bomb storage, and the command center that killed the entire command staff. The Koga was effectively destroyed. At 10:25 a.m., just 3 minutes later, 3 high-explosive bombs from VB-3 struck the flight deck and fuel storage of Soryu, triggering a chain reaction of explosions. The blast destroyed nearly all the aircraft being prepared for launch and most of the crew. At 10:27 a.m., VB-6 then turned their sights on a Kogi. Just one direct hit, but it was all it took. The bomb slammed into the center of the flight deck, igniting the hangar. The fire suppression system was crippled. A Kogi became uncontrollable. Admiral Yamamoto was forced to abandon ship, transferring to the light cruiser Nogara, and then radioed Yamamoto to report the devastating update. In just 5 minutes, 3 of Japan's elite carriers were wiped out. The pride of the Japanese Navy gone in flames. Can the Japanese still believe in victory? At this point, only Hiryu remained undetected. With the battle slipping out of Japan's control, Admiral Yamamoto ordered a counterattack. At 11 a.m., the first wave took off. 18 dive bombers and 6 Zero fighters headed straight for USS Yorktown. Despite early warnings, 3 bombs struck Yorktown. Fires broke out and power was temporarily lost. 1:30 p.m., the second wave came. Nearly the same scenario plays out. Some Japanese torpedo bombers break through and land to lows into Yorktown's port side. This time, the damage was critical. The ship began to list heavily. By 3 p.m., the order was given. abandoned ship. At 3:30 p.m., using reconnaissance reports, the Americans finally pinpointed Hiryu's position. It was time for the final blow. 24 SPD Dauntless dive bombers from squadrons VB-6 and VS-6, flying off the Enterprise, launched into the sky. At 5 p.m., meanwhile Hiryu was preparing the third airstrike. 2 American squadrons appeared overhead. 4 bombs hit their mark. All aircraft aboard were destroyed. The main deck, ammunition stores, fuel tanks, and control systems were completely obliterated, leaving Hiryu engulfed in flames. Have you ever wondered, how could a force that was stronger, better organized, lose so catastrophically? In just 24 hours, 4 of Japan's main aircraft carriers, over 300 aircraft, along with countless warships and thousands of veteran sailors were wiped out. Was Japan simply overconfident in their victory, or was the US just lucky? No, it wasn't luck. This was modern warfare, where intelligence, decisiveness, and perfect timing matter more than anything else. The Battle of Midway stands as an example of a war won with brains, not just firepower. Major combat is over, and with it, Japan's dream of dominating the Pacific was shattered. After Midway, Japan no longer had the strength to launch large-scale offensives. The United States began its counterattack at Guadalcanal. A few years later, the atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima. And it all began with a single moment, with 5 minutes.